There is someone in your past, maybe one person, maybe several, someone who hurt you in a way that left a mark, and you have tried, genuinely tried, to let it go. But it is still there, not always loud. Sometimes just a quiet weight, a tightness when their name appears, a story you still tell yourself at 2 a.m. Here's what nobody tells you about letting go. It is not about them. It was never about them. This is the story of Sophie, and the freedom she found, not by forgiving, but by finally understanding what she was actually holding. Sophie was 36 years old, and she carried things well. From the outside, she was warm, capable, generous, the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthdays and showed up when it mattered. But inside, in the place, she rarely showed anyone she carried a list. Not written down, but memorized. The people who had hurt her, what they had done, how it had felt, what it had cost her. At the top of the list, her former business partner, Richard. They had built something together over 4 years. A small company born from shared vision, late nights, genuine friendship. And then in the space of 3 months, Richard had made decisions that benefited himself at the direct expense of Sophie. Financial decisions, documented, undeniable. She had confronted him. He had minimized, justified, eventually disappeared. The company dissolved. The friendship ended. The money largely gone. That was 3 years ago. Sophie had rebuilt. A new career, a new direction, a life that was, by most measures, better than before. But Richard was still there. Not in her life, in her mind, in the tightness she felt when she heard his name, in the way she sometimes caught herself rehearsing arguments she would never have, in the quiet, persistent anger that lived just below the surface, like an ember that never quite went out. Her therapist, Drive. Osei, a calm, precise woman who had heard many versions of many stories, said something to Sophie in their 6th session that stopped her completely. Sophie, you have described what Richard did in great detail. You have described the impact, financial, emotional, professional. But I want to ask you something you haven't answered yet. What are you getting from holding on to this? Sophie looked at her. Getting. Yes, we hold on to things for reasons. Even painful things. Even things that hurt us. What does holding on to this anger, this story about Richard give you? Sophie opened her mouth and found, to her surprise, that she had an answer. She didn't say it immediately. She sat with it for a week. And then she came back to Dr. Osei and said, I think holding on to it makes me right. As long as I'm angry, as long as I remember exactly what he did, I am the wronged person, the innocent one, the one who didn't deserve it. If I let it go, if I stop being angry, it feels like I'm saying it didn't matter, or worse, that it was somehow okay. And it wasn't okay. It was not okay. Dr. Osei nodded slowly. You're right, she said. It wasn't okay. But Sophie, can I show you something? She drew a simple image on her notepad. A person, holding a rope, the other end of the rope attached to a heavy stone. This is you, she said. And this is the anger. You're holding it, because letting go feels like saying the stone wasn't heavy. But Sophie, the stone doesn't know you're holding it. Richard doesn't know you're holding it. Asterisk. The only person affected by the weight is you. Sophie sat with that image for a long time. The stone doesn't know you're holding it. She thought about the last 3 years, all the mental energy spent on Richard, the rehearsed arguments, the replayed memories, the moments of unexpected anger triggered by something small, a similar name, a similar situation, that pulled her back into a story that was 3 years old. Richard, wherever he was not spending equivalent energy on her. She knew this. She had always known this. But knowing it and feeling it, those were different things. So how do I let go? She asked, without feeling like I'm excusing what he did? Dr. Osei looked at her carefully. Sophie, I want to separate 2 things that most people confuse. Forgiveness and release. Forgiveness is about them. It is a moral statement. It says, what you did was wrong, and I choose to release you from my judgment of it. Some people can do that, some people cannot, and both are valid. But release is only about you. Release says, what you did was wrong. It hurt me. It cost me. And I am choosing not to carry it anymore. Not because you deserve my peace, but because I do. Sophie felt something shift. Not dramatically, not with tears or revelation. Just a quiet movement, like a door that had been stuck finally, slightly opening. I deserve my peace. She had never thought about it in those terms. She had thought about what Richard deserved, whether he deserved her forgiveness, whether he deserved to be released from her anger. She had never asked what she deserved. She thought about a wound. When you are injured, when something cuts you, the wound needs attention. Cleaning, bandaging, time. But if you keep reopening it, if you keep pressing on it, if you keep returning to it to confirm that, yes, it is still there, it still hurts, it was real, it never heals. Not because the original injury wasn't real, but because healing requires something the wound cannot do while you are pressing on it. Rest. Sophie had been pressing on her wound for 3 years. Not because she was weak. Because she was afraid that if she stopped pressing, if she let it rest, it would mean the injury hadn't happened. But wounds don't disappear when you stop pressing on them. They heal. And healed wounds, still scarred, still real, still part of your history, no longer hurt when you touch them. She went home that evening and did something she had never done. She wrote Richard a letter. Not to send. Never to send. But to say, on paper, outside of her body, everything she had been carrying. What he had done. What it had cost. How it had felt. What she had lost. She wrote for 2 hours, and at the end, she wrote one final paragraph. I am not writing this for you. You will never read this. You may never think about me again. I am writing this for me. Because I have been carrying this for 3 years. And I am tired. Not of being right. I am still right. But of the weight. So I am putting it down. Not because you deserve that, but because I deserve to walk without it. She folded the letter, put it in a drawer, and sat in the quiet. The release did not happen in one evening. Sophie was honest about that. It happened in layers. Some days, she felt genuinely lighter, the weight less present, the story less loud. Other days, something triggered the memory, and the anger returned, familiar, hot, immediate. On those days, she didn't fight it. She acknowledged it. This is still here. That's okay. It was a real wound. Healing is not linear. And then, she returned to the letter, not to reread it, just to remember. She had already said everything that needed to be said. She had already put it down. She just needed to keep choosing not to pick it back up. 3 months later, something happened she hadn't expected. She heard Richard's name in a conversation, a mutual acquaintance, mentioning him casually, something about a new venture. Sophie waited for the tightness, the familiar clench, the heat, the pull back into the story. It came, but smaller, much smaller, like an echo of something that had once been loud, now distant, now fading. She noticed it, acknowledged it, and let it pass. In less than a minute, she told Dr. Osei at their next session. Something is different, she said. Tell me, Dr. Osei said. I heard his name, and I felt something, but it passed, quickly, like weather. Before, it would have stayed all day, sometimes all week. This time, it passed. Dr. Osei smiled. Sophie, do you know what that is? Freedom? Sophie said. Yes, but more specifically, it is the difference between a wound and a scar. A wound hurts when you touch it. A scar, you can touch. You can see it. You can remember how it happened. But it doesn't hurt anymore. You are becoming scarred. And scars, unlike wounds, make you stronger. Not in spite of what happened, because of what you did with it. The twist in Sophie's story is not that she forgave Richard. She didn't. Not fully. Not in the way the word is usually meant. The twist is what she discovered about the nature of letting go, the real nature that most people misunderstand. Letting go is not an act of generosity toward the person who hurt you. It is an act of love toward yourself. It is the decision, made consciously, made repeatedly, made on the hard days as much as the easy ones, that you deserve more of your own energy than their memory does. So here is what I want you to hear about the person you are carrying, the one on your list, The one whose name still tightens something. The one whose memory still arrives uninvited at quiet moments and takes up space that belongs to you. You are allowed to put them down. Not because they deserve it. Not because what they did was okay. Not because the hurt wasn't real. But because you deserve your peace more than they deserve your pain. Here's how letting go actually works. 1. Separate release from forgiveness. You do not have to forgive to release. Release is yours alone. It requires nothing from them. No apology, no acknowledgement, no change. Just your decision. 2. Say everything unsaid. Write the letter. Never send it. Say everything. The anger, the grief, the cost, the loss, outside of your body, on paper, where it can exist without living inside you. 3. Choose your peace as an act of self-respect, not as weakness, not as surrender, not as saying it didn't matter. As the clearest possible statement that you matter. More than the story of what was done to you, bitterness is not strength. It feels like strength, because it is hard and sharp and keeps you defended, but it is a prison you build for yourself, with their name on the door, and you hold the key. You have always held the key. Letting go, real letting go, is simply choosing to use it. Not for them, for you. You have carried this long enough. You have been right long enough. You have pressed on the wound long enough to know it is still there. Now, let it rest, let it scar, and walk forward, lighter, into the life that has been waiting for you on the other side of everything you were brave enough to put down. If this story gave you permission to do something you have been afraid to do, share it with someone who is still carrying something heavy from someone who has already moved on. Because somewhere out there is a Sophie, still rehearsing arguments to someone who isn't listening, who just needs to hear. Put it down. You deserve your peace. It was never about them. This video is for her. This video is for you. Thank you for watching.